Good evening. We live in an age of, well, unprecedented information. We are bombarded with news 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Headlines flash across our screens, detailing conflicts in distant lands, natural disasters of historic proportions, technological leaps that were once the stuff of science fiction. But what if I told you these very headlines might have been written down thousands of years ago? It's a startling proposition, the idea that ancient texts, penned by prophets in a world of sandals and scrolls, could contain a blueprint for our chaotic present seems, at first glance, pretty unbelievable. Yet, more and more people are looking at the world around them and seeing not just random chaos, but a pattern. They are turning to the pages of the Bible, specifically to passages of prophecy, and finding chilling parallels to the news you and I report on every single night. These are not vague, easily interpreted verses. They are specific predictions of a time of great upheaval, a period of global turmoil preceding a monumental shift. The prophecies speak of wars and rumors of wars, nations rising against nations, famines, earthquakes in diverse places. They describe a world where knowledge increases exponentially. As journalists, our job is to report the facts, to connect the dots of current events. Tonight we're going to connect some very different dots, ones that stretch back millennia, to ask a provocative question. Are these ancient prophecies unfolding right now, before our very eyes? Consider the sheer volume and intensity of what we're witnessing. From the ongoing conflicts that threaten to draw in global superpowers, to the undeniable increase in the frequency and severity of natural disasters that climate scientists are struggling to explain fully, we see societies fracturing along ideological lines, a level of polarization that feels honestly unsustainable. Simultaneously, we are living through the most rapid technological acceleration in human history, artificial intelligence bioengineering poised to redefine what it means to be human. Written thousands of years ago, these ancient predictions read like today's headlines. Are we watching the Bible's final prophecies unfold in real time? Are these isolated phenomena simply the chaotic progression of history? Or are they part of a larger, pre-written narrative that is now reaching its climax? This isn't about promoting a particular doctrine, it's about observation, it's about journalism. One of the most cited and perhaps most unsettling prophecies comes from the book of Matthew chapter 24. Jesus is asked by his disciples about the signs of the end of the age. His response is direct and sobering. He says, "You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come." For centuries this passage has been read and debated. Has there ever been a time when the rumors of wars were so constant, so global, so instantly transmitted to every corner of the planet? Today, a minor border skirmish in one hemisphere can send shockwaves through global markets and political alliances in another, all within minutes. The rumors are no longer carried by messengers on horseback. They are trending hashtags and push notifications. Look at the global landscape right now in the fall of 2025. Tensions in Eastern Europe continue to simmer. In the South China Sea, naval vessels from competing superpowers play a dangerous game of chicken. Proxy wars flare across the Middle East. Proxy wars flare across Africa. It feels less like a world at peace with isolated conflicts, and more like a world in perpetual low-grade warfare, on the brink of something much larger. The rumors are a constant hum of anxiety in our global consciousness. The prophecy doesn't just mention wars, but specifically rumors of wars. This is a key distinction that resonates powerfully today. In our hyper-connected world, the threat of conflict, the diplomatic posturing, the movement of troops, and the cyber attacks that precede physical engagement are all part of the modern battlefield. We live in an age of information warfare where the rumor of war can be as disruptive as war itself. The constant news cycle, breathless speculation from military analysts, satellite images of troop buildups. This is the modern embodiment of rumors of wars, a state of constant alert and agitation that keeps populations and governments on edge. It's a psychological warfare being waged on a global scale. This isn't to say that past generations didn't experience war. Of course they did. The 20th century saw 2 world wars of unimaginable carnage. But the nature of conflict, and the information surrounding it, has fundamentally changed. The Cold War was a standoff between 2 superpowers. Today, we face a multipolar world with numerous potential flashpoints, all amplified by a 24/7 news media and the instantaneous nature of social media. The prophecy speaks of a time when the whole world would be aware of these conflicts. Today, A person in a small town in Ohio can watch a live feed of a protest in Hong Kong or a conflict in Yemen on their phone. This global awareness of constant, simmering conflict is a uniquely modern phenomenon, and it aligns disturbingly well with the ancient text. The same passage in Matthew 24 continues with another stark prediction. Nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. On the surface, this sounds similar to wars and rumors of wars, but a closer look at the original Greek word for nation reveals a deeper meaning. The word is ethnos, from which we derive our modern word ethnic. This isn't just about nation-states with formal armies clashing over borders. Ethnic group against ethnic group, tribe against tribe, a rise in internal strife, civil wars, a fracturing of societies from within. It speaks of a world tearing itself apart along lines of identity, culture, belief. Now look at the world around us. Are we not seeing this exact phenomenon play out with terrifying intensity? We are witnessing a dramatic resurgence of nationalism, tribalism, extreme political polarization across the globe. Societies that once seemed stable are being ripped apart by internal divisions. Political standoffs in the United States that pit citizen against citizen, the rise of far-right nationalist movements in Europe, ethnic conflicts that lead to brutal civil wars in Africa and Asia. The prophecy of ethnos against ethnos seems to be a headline story, not just in one country, but in dozens. It is a global trend of societal disintegration. This division is amplified and accelerated by the very technology that connects us. The apocalyptic prophecies of the Bible are not limited to human conflict. They describe a world where nature itself seems to turn against humanity. In Luke 21 verse 11, a parallel account to Matthew 24, the prediction is laid out with chilling clarity. There will be great earthquakes, famines in various places, pestilences, terrors, great signs from heaven. For the modern skeptic, it's easy to dismiss this. Haven't there always been earthquakes, famines, diseases? Yes, but the prophecy specifies in various places and links them together, as a cluster of signs happening concurrently, with increasing frequency and intensity, a global systemic environmental and biological crisis. Let's look at the facts on the ground in 2025. The World Food Program says we're facing a hunger crisis of unprecedented proportions, exacerbated by conflict, supply chain disruptions, extreme weather events, former breadbaskets facing historic droughts, others being washed away by floods. This is not localized, it's multiple continents at once. Famines in various places fits. We are watching it unfold in real time from correspondents on the ground, describing scenes of desperation across the globe. Then there is pestilence. We're only a few years past the COVID-19 pandemic, a global pestilence that shut the world down, claimed millions of lives, and changed how we live. Scientists warn that globalization is increasing risk, deforestation is increasing risk, climate change is increasing risk. Another, possibly deadlier pandemic is not if, but when. We see old diseases resurging, we see new diseases emerging. The prophecy may mean an era of disease risk, not one final plague. And great earthquakes? Seismologists say major quake counts may be similar, but the impact on dense modern megacities is far worse. A quake near a megacity now causes devastation unimaginable centuries ago. We're also seeing more extreme weather, hurricanes, wildfires, heat domes, floods. These act like great earthquakes in destructive power. These are the terrors and great signs the prophecy names. Viewed together, not separately, as escalating crises in various places at once, the parallel to ancient prophecy is hard to dismiss. The earth itself seems to be in distress. Among the prophecies of war and disaster, there is one that stands out for its unique focus on human intellect and innovation. In the book of Daniel, chapter 12, verse 4, the prophet is given a vision of the time of the end. He is told, "Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased." For centuries, commentators struggled to understand the full meaning of this. What could an increase in knowledge look like? What did it mean for many to run to and fro? In a world limited to horses and sailboats, that was abstract. Today, those words are startlingly literal. Many shall run to and fro, our age of mass global travel. Time-lapse of a bustling international airport showing planes and crowds. 20th century air travel exploded. By the early 21st century, billions fly each year. We run to and fro for business, for leisure, and as refugees. This prophecy has been fulfilled, undeniably. We are the generation that runs to and fro. Knowledge shall be increased. The shocker. The last decade saw an explosion of knowledge. The advent of the internet, the mapping of the human genome, the development of artificial intelligence, vast repositories of information in your pocket, human knowledge now doubling every 12 hours. an exponential vertical climb reshaping everything. This flood brings incredible advances but also immense peril. AI that can cure diseases can also create autonomous weapons. Genetic engineering that can end famine can also create bioweapons. The internet that connects us can also spread disinformation and control populations. The prophecy doesn't promise wisdom in use, only that it would happen. We are living this fulfillment, grappling with godlike power and our ancient flawed nature. The implications are staggering and unfolding every day. Many biblical prophecies, particularly in the books of Daniel and Revelation. These passages describe a system of global political and economic control, one that attempts to unify humanity under a single authority. For a long time, this idea seemed like a fantasy, or even just a conspiracy theory. The world was just too big, too diverse, too fractured for such a system to ever really take hold. Nation-states were fiercely independent. The idea of ceding sovereignty to a global body was met with deep suspicion and resistance. The concept of a one-world government was pretty much relegated to the fringes. However, in recent decades, we've seen undeniable trends toward globalization and powerful international institutions. Organizations like the United Nations, World Health Organization, World Trade Organization, International Monetary Fund. During the COVID-19 pandemic, we saw a coordinated global response with health policies and travel restrictions implemented in near unison across the world, guided by a single international health body. And now, we're seeing pushes for global digital currencies and digital IDs, systems that would create a framework for unprecedented economic monitoring and control on a planetary scale. These are the building blocks of a global governance structure. The push for this global system is often framed in benevolent terms, solving climate change, preventing pandemics, managing economic crises, and stopping war. The logic is that our biggest problems are global in nature, and therefore require global solutions, which individual nations are powerless to implement on their own. This drive for a unified response to global crises creates a powerful momentum toward centralization of power. The more global crises we face, environmental, economic, biological, the louder the calls become for a stronger, more unified global authority to manage them. We're watching this process accelerate in real time. No discussion of biblical prophecy is complete without mentioning Israel. No discussion of biblical prophecy is complete without mentioning Israel. No discussion of biblical prophecy is complete without mentioning Israel. No discussion of biblical prophecy is complete without mentioning Israel. For thousands of years, the Jewish people were scattered across the globe, a nation without a homeland. The Bible, in numerous passages from prophets like Ezekiel and Isaiah, foretold a time when they would be gathered from all the nations. From prophets like Ezekiel and Isaiah, foretold a time when they would be gathered and brought back to their ancestral land. For nearly 2 millennia, this prophecy seemed impossible. The land was occupied by others, and the Jewish people were a diaspora. But then, in 1948, the impossible happened. The state of Israel was born, and a nation was reborn in a single day, fulfilling a core tenet of end-times prophecy. The very existence of Israel as a modern nation-state is, for many, the single most compelling piece of evidence that we are living in a prophetic age. But the prophecies don't stop there. They go on to state that in the last days, Israel, and specifically the city of Jerusalem, would become the focus of international controversy and conflict. The prophet Zechariah wrote, "I am going to make Jerusalem a cup that sends all the surrounding peoples reeling. I will make Jerusalem an immovable rock for all the nations. All who try to move it will injure themselves." This describes a city that is a burdensome stone, a focal point of global tension. Look at the headlines today. Is there any city on earth that generates more international debate, more UN resolutions, and more intense diplomatic conflict than Jerusalem? Its status is at the very heart of the most intractable conflict of our time, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Decisions about embassies, borders, and access to holy sites in Jerusalem immediately become front-page news around the world, capable of sparking protests and violence across nations. The city is, quite literally, an immovable rock of contention for the entire world, exactly as the ancient prophet predicted thousands of years ago. This constant focus on Israel and Jerusalem is a unique feature of our time. Throughout much of history, after its destruction by the Romans, Jerusalem was a provincial backwater. Today, it is the epicenter of geopolitical and religious tension. The prophecies indicate that this focus will only intensify, culminating in a final conflict over the city. Whether you view the situation through a political or a theological lens, the facts on the ground are undeniable. A nation that was gone has been restored, and its ancient capital has become the central point of friction for the entire globe. This precise two-part fulfillment of prophecy is a powerful sign that demands our attention. Beyond wars and natural disasters, the Bible also prophesies a dramatic shift in the moral and social fabric of society in the last days. The Apostle Paul, in a letter to his protege Timothy, gives a detailed and haunting description of what people will be like. He writes in 2 Timothy chapter 3, "But mark this, there will be terrible times in the last days. People will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boastful, proud, abusive, disobedient to their parents, ungrateful, unholy, without love, unforgiving, slanderous, without self-control, brutal, not lovers of the good, treacherous, rash, conceited, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God." Read that list again, slowly. Lovers of themselves. Does that not describe the modern culture of narcissism, amplified by social media's focus on self-image and personal branding? Lovers of money, a perfect descriptor for a global culture driven by materialism and consumerism. Boastful, proud, abusive, slanderous. This sounds like a summary of the average comment section on the internet, where anonymous cruelty and public shaming have become a form of entertainment. The breakdown of traditional family structures is reflected in disobedient to their parents and without love. It's a diagnosis of a cultural sickness. Tonight we have journeyed from the battlefields of modern warfare to the fault lines of our planet, to the dizzying heights of technological advancement, to the deep fractures within our own societies. Are today's breaking news alerts the fulfillment of ancient prophecy? The only question left is, are we watching?